Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how CEOs, founders, and senior executives sell their ideas, point of view, and personal brand to the people who matter most. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want to build market eminence, amplify your influence, and attract high-value prospects, investors, partners, talent, and media opportunities with less chasing and more confidence. Let's go. There's the old saying that, people don't like marketing because they don't think it works, or they realize it works, but they don't know what part of it works or how. And it seems to be this black box hiding in an ivory tower and no one really knows what's going on. So that's not great, but I've got the guy that's going to help you unpack, unscrew up, and get straight and clear on what the heck marketing, lead generation, and a healthy funnel looks like. With that introduction, Mr. Glenn Schmelzle, welcome to the show.
David, thank you so much for having me.
So there is this old saying, and I forget who it's attributed to, but they say, I know that half my marketing is working, I just don't know which half, right? So half the money I spend on marketing, I waste. The problem is I don't know which half. So as the data-based marketer, databasedmarketer.com, tell us, Glenn, a little bit about your backstory and kind of how you came to do the work that you're doing today. And then I've got a zillion questions for you.
Sure, but I have to fill in the blank on who that was, because it's someone from your very own backyard, David. I know you're in the Philadelphia area, and it was a department store owner named John Wanamaker.
Right.
And Wanamaker's was a well-known establishment, and he was what he was grappling with was he had worked really hard to put his retail locations where there was a lot of foot traffic. And this is late 1800s. The dawn of advertising was right about then, because you had penny newspapers, and you had people who would approach you and say, I've got a wall on the side of my building, and I would like to put up a large painted sign to tell people to get to your place. Of course, the people like John Wanamaker, and like the people listening today, have that immediate question of, well, what am I going to get for that money? That's going to cost something. How do I know it's doing anything? So, how that brings us up to today is that I have spent several decades both as a corporate sales and marketing person and a marketing agency owner, and now someone who speaks to other executives about how they can do their marketing better. And I have been galvanized by the questions that come up. And the one thing I would say that I want everybody to know is it is measurable. This is not voodoo.
No.
This is something that we can use, the same kind of math that we use for all other facets of business. So I'm glad to say that at this point, it's a solved problem.
I know that Alex Hormozy, who's a big kind of marketing and sales influencer, he talks about you could fix your business tomorrow. No new products, no new pricing, no new hires, no nothing. Just fix the holes in your leaky bucket. And he's specifically talking about lead generation, funnels, offline, online, doesn't matter. Everyone has this notion that they need more leads. Right? If you ask a typical business owner, whether it's a traditional business, whether it's an online business, what you could wave a magic wand, what's the number one thing you would fix? Oh, Glenn, we need more leads. Now, when a client comes to you, and first thing out of their mouth is, Glenn, we need more leads. Number one, what do you look at? And then number two, what do you say to that business owner?
Yeah. So we'll have to make a couple of force functioning constraints on this because there's many dependencies.
Sure.
But let's just say that the company already knows how many times they need to be touching a prospect out there before that prospect will become a lead.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to start there. And then the other thing that they have to know is roughly for each one that comes out the bottom of their funnel, how many had to go into the top? And then I suppose the last one that we have to look at is the matter of, are the unit economics of how they did those first two steps sustainable? Okay. So the things that I look at vary from their digital advertising, their social media, their analytics, usually on Google Analytics, and then the downstream systems, their CRM or marketing automation, and then into whatever the transaction shopping cart / financial system they have. So it's got to touch all of those.
Yeah.
But then my questions basically get around to those items of, do you know what those main gates are along your funnel? And are you using the right numbers to see how those are changing over time?
I'm wondering, is there a difference between all of those gates, all of those touch points? Is there a significant difference between a purely online company where there's a click to buy sort of shopping cart type transaction at the end versus all of those metrics that might lead to a sales call, a discovery call, a demo, some sort of interaction with a salesperson?
Sure. So I say this without prejudice. There's a big difference. And I find that the people who we're in 2026 when we record this. So the people who are still grappling with these questions are in that second camp. It seems to me that this is that prejudice part I was saying, whether it has been, whether they have chosen to do it by tuning their e-commerce system, or it has been thrust upon them by the Metas and the Googles of the world.
Yeah.
The calculus for getting e-commerce type marketing sorted is well understood, and the companies that are in fact even standing today have got that dialed in.
Yeah.
Now let's talk the rest.
Yeah. So talk to us again for the folks that are listening who are primarily entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, consultants, coaches, experts of some kind, agency owners, accounting firms, law firms. These are not marketing experts.
Yep.
So they're very much interested in improving their marketing results. They're very much interested in improving their sales results. If you were to say, folks, listen, before we fix it, we got to figure out where it is today. So things like top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Explain that like I'm a 5-year-old. Just explain that to me in very basic ABCs, and then we can dig a little bit further into some of the fun stuff.
Yeah. So that top, middle, and bottom of funnel, the way I look at it is the top of funnel is around making someone cognizant of a problem that they have. Making that need felt, right? So the basic way that I've heard it described is top of funnel is, what if, right? What if I could have a better accounting system? What if I didn't have to deal with all the administrative headaches that I have? And then we move to middle of funnel because we haven't yet even mentioned the seller. So the way that the middle of funnel is basically trying to work is to help someone understand how they might solve the problem. Okay, so this gets into your, do I build versus buy? Or if this is something software, hardware related that has specifications, what specs should I care about?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, well, if you really want to get an accounting package, you have to have one with the grapple grommets tied to the whatchamahoozies.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we get to the bottom of the funnel, which is why you, right? So that one is meant to specifically give them reasons as they compile their short list, right, to identify and lean towards you. And the point that I think a lot of firms miss is they know about that bottom of funnel one, but the prefiguring that they have to do, the architecting of how their messaging goes, which I know is something near and dear to your heart, they've got to think about that all the way up at the top of the funnel.
Oh my goodness, what a great interview this is. Hey, you like great things? Have you grabbed a copy of my new book and all the companion tools, trainings, and bonuses at marketeminence.com? Pop over there right now, grab it. It's almost as great as this episode. I know that when we talk about funnels, a lot of people immediately go to Facebook ads, Google ads,
Yep.
right? Online ads, digital ads of some kind. And they say, oh my gosh, that is so great because I can measure every single step of every single thing. The only people that are laughing right now as they're listening to us, Glenn, are people that have tried Google advertising or Facebook advertising, where they realize the numbers on these reports do not match the numbers on our web analytics, do not match the numbers in our CRM. And these are all connected. And we tested them and we stress tested them. And why is Meta saying 300 clicks? The web analytics is saying 240 clicks. And then this third, the CRM says 218 clicks. And then if that metric is off, imagine how inaccurate all the other calculations and percentages are further down the line. So I know that there are tools that lay on top of all of these things that might give you a more accurate or a more aligned picture of reality. Yeah. But talk to us a little bit about the dangers and the lessons learned about relying on the advertising's platform analytics as your only source of truth.
Yeah, in a word, don't do it.
There you go. Moving on.
I am empathetic with people who pull their hair out at this. There are some things that are stacked against us, and so here's what I will say. First off, there is a source of truth which you as a seller have that none of them have, and which you should bring into the mix here. We up until now, we've been talking about all sorts of quantitative data, right? And it comes out of our systems like exhaust. Yeah. But what about the qualitative data, like when you have consummated a deal with a new customer, saying to them, what sticks out in your mind about how you heard of us? The thing that comes out of their mouth next is pure gold, and it pretty much should be put on a pedestal right up there with whatever those reports are that you look at.
Yeah.
Now, getting to the messy world of what you were talking about, which is in our lingo called attribution, there's a couple. I have to scaffold this for a second because the platforms aren't, they're dastardly, but they're not, completely out to lunch. They recognize that there is multiple touches for a customer, and some of them are using their platforms, and some of them are, let's say they got into your email list and you send them another email, or they were at a cocktail party and they happen to bump into one of your team. These two have been well understood in the marketing world for a century, and they're called reach and frequency. We even knew this from the days of catalogs and magazines. When I send something out to you, so let's say it's changing tires, David, and I send a once a year flyer out for my and you and I are in a part of North America where you have to change your tires for winter and summer. So, but let's say that I happen to send that out in June. Okay, so I have probably not done that frequently enough, because by October, November, when somebody needs to think about their winter tires, it's a distant memory. And it came a month or 2 or 3 after when they changed onto their all-season tires.
Yeah.
So frequency, you got to be, I call it, you have to be more than sporadic, but you cannot be as frequent as incessant.
Yes.
Somewhere in the middle, somewhere recurring. And this is, again, dependent on what the life cycle of a customer is. How often, do you have a consumable product or not? So yeah, not sporadic, but not incessant. We're looking for that Goldilocks zone. Now, the other side of it, and this is where the platforms love to give you reports, they love to point out how many times you could have made impressions in front of more people. These are not usually unique people. So you're hitting your same prospects, several times, which gets into the frequency part. But the reach part is, let's be honest, if you say, I'm going to spend the absolute minimum, the $1 a day or $10 a day on LinkedIn for getting in front of people, and I have a large market, that is too narrow. So I'm not even touching a sliver of a slice of the pie. Yeah. On the other hand, if I spend indiscriminately, or as those reports tell me, I'm getting everybody, but I am shooting blindly. Yeah. And so there's another Goldilocks problem. I'm not where I should be. So when you're asking the customers the questions and they're saying anecdotal things like, yeah, you seem to catch me at the right time, or I noticed you, but I did have one friend that, hadn't heard of you when I asked, use those little things as navigational aids to help you hit both the right reach and the right frequency in order to get people to become leads.
That comment about you just happened to hit me at the right time reminds me to ask you, and I've heard a lot about this a couple years ago. I have not heard much about it today, maybe because it's either gone away or it's become the norm. Tell me about intent-based marketing. There are a lot of these platforms that say, we know when someone's hunting for tires. We know when someone's hunting for a new point of sale system. We know when someone's hunting to buy new laptops for 10 people in Sheboygan, Michigan. Right. What is the story with intent-based marketing today, and what's its role, do you feel?
Let's talk North America. So we are in North America where there is a more lax notion of privacy.
Meaning non-existent.
Thank you.
Pretty much.
So what's happening, for anyone who wants to know about the intent-based tools, they are scraping different searches that are done. They are sometimes in the background purchasing from other providers. And I mean, the one I would probably point to the most, if anybody's bought software and you've ever come across like G2 or one of those other review sites, if you're on that site, it's going to pelt you with information. It's going to hopefully get you identified by an email address. But even if they don't, they still have something on where you are. They'll try to map you back to an organization or something, and then they will. So in the case of a B2B scenario, these intent-based tools have, I think in some cases, a legitimate way of helping that helpless B2B vendor find out what. But I'm going to recommend instead that, or go and do that. But first, before you do that, make sure that you are asking, back to the qualitative, ask those people who bought you, what sorts of lines of research did you undertake? Did you talk to other people? Did you decide to head to that local association event, what did you do as you were figuring out how you were going to solve your problem? And I think that can get us a fair bit of the way.
Yeah.
I suppose what I would caution against, and it's a 1-2 punch, is you can buy subscriptions to the intent-based systems, and then you can crank up your Meta or your Google or other ad platforms to retarget those people.
Yeah.
That's a bad look. Okay. People aren't dumb. They will understand, oh, I am being followed from the day I went onto that review site until, and believe it or not, the systems will allow, in some cases, you to go 540 days with targeting. So please be, what did Uncle Ben from Spider-Man say? With great power comes great responsibility.
It's true.
So exercise that discretion, and find out what your prospects who have become customers are doing, because you may be able to hack intent some other way.
Yes. No, that's a great point. I know I'm asking fairly elementary questions, but you're giving such great answers. I'm going to give you another elementary question. Your recommendation, let's say a professional services company, some sort of consulting firm, professional advisory firm, they come to you and they say, Glenn, we've tried Facebook ads, we've tried fill in the blank ads, we've tried YouTube, we've tried Google, we've tried Pinterest, whatever. And we've also been killing ourselves on all these amazing organic LinkedIn posts and videos, and we're putting resources. We got lead magnets, and our customers love our lead magnets. What should be our mix of organic versus paid? And when or if ever does it make sense to go all organic or all paid?
The answer can't be found in any one data point, but the answer can be found by pooling together all your data. What I've normally found is, rather than being prescriptive and saying, oh, yes, it's a 2/3 this, 1/3 that, with a sprinkling of the other, is to look into their measurement systems. And I want people to think of measurement systems kind of like, if you think of how salmon go through their life, they start off high up in a mountain, and then they'll go down the stream, right? And they have several stops along the stream. Then they get down to the, big water, and they have their spawning grounds. But then what do those salmon, they go and grow. But to get back to spawn is they have to climb back up. And just keep that in your mind, because the way measurement systems can be made to work is you can, when someone began as a prospect, if you configure your systems properly, you can track them on the way down. And of course, what we really care about is, did they become a customer?
Right.
And if they did, that message can be sent back upstream. As a matter of fact, it should be sent upstream through things we call like conversions or pixels. And that can be used to tune and optimize how those various platforms are spreading the word. Okay.
So you're saying that those folks that become customers, we can tell the platforms, bring me more people like this.
Correct.
Very nice. Wow. How about that?
And we can also, and this is a big part of it, we can also retain the information on how much it cost us for that interaction.
Yeah.
So, and this is important for, let's say, folks listening who are in the legal world. A lead for, let's say, a accident injury prospect, that can be several $100s just for a click. So you really must do this tying, and there's different devices. People will hear jargon like UTM parameters, and they'll hear things like, pixels and insight conversion reports. But the net of it is, there are ways to bring along that costing data. And let's remember that for each, let's say, lead I got, the cost per that lead is the sum total, not just of that one click that happened, but of all of the other clicks I paid for around that same time that did not become a lead.
That's right.
So that lead has to carry the cost, and it goes again for the lower gate, which is, maybe your discovery call, then for the final gate, your proposal and your bake off and your, final contracting. So you should try to figure out how to make the cost of procuring a customer at the end sustainable in terms of all of those steps that happened prior.
Yeah.
But you can do it when you connect the systems.
Yes. I want to ask about tracking, because you mentioned a couple of times, if you set it up properly, if your system is doing what it needs to be doing as far as feeding data back to you. Yeah. And I know people, to me, the spectrum seems to be people do none of this kind of tracking, or they kill themselves, bend over backwards, and do way too much tracking. So for example, let's say I have a lead magnet and I have an organic source, and that's got a unique link. And then I've got a paid source that's got a unique link. But then it's like, well, wait a second. I'm paying for Google ads and I'm paying for Facebook ads. The Google link should be different than the Facebook link, or somehow there should be some marker, pixel, whatever it is, that will tell me this one came from Google, this one came from Facebook. Sure. Organic posts.
And there is.
Okay. And so that is recommended.
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
I mean, it's not recommended. It's vital.
It's vital.
It's vital. So let's talk organic. Organic, I've got something on my blog. I take the same thing. A few days later, I put it on LinkedIn. It might lead to the same lead magnet, but I need to know who came from the blog, who came from LinkedIn, who came from Facebook, who came from YouTube, who came from Instagram. Am I setting up distinct markers, same URL, but like you mentioned, UTM or some kind of other tracking code? I'm setting up different tracking codes for each of those sources?
You are. And they ride along inside of the link that you put on those sources. But the place that you should be going to view reports on what came of those activities is Google Analytics.
Okay.
And inside of Google Analytics, you may need to do some configuring. You should, for example, set up what you really want to have happen, like, did they fill out that lead form?
Yeah.
That is something that you need to set up. It's called a key event. When you set it up as a key event, Google Analytics, instead of just like stumbling through your website and reporting random things, it goes, oh, you want to know when that happens and how that happened.
Yeah.
Yes, Google Analytics. So Google wants you to set it up in Analytics as a key event. And you mentioned about people who are progressing on this. They're just getting into the journey. The next one that they will probably hear about, a Google product that will be brought to bear sometimes to set up these conversions, is called Google Tag Manager. Okay, so nothing too daunting, but it is a way to help Google Analytics pull all that information together and granularly know when things that matter to your business have happened on your website.
Wait. We're not just going to listen to this episode. There are downloads, there are resources, there are links, there are bonuses waiting for you on this episode's page when you go over to doitmarketing.com/podcast. That's right, doitmarketing.com/podcast. Grab the notes right under this episode. See you over there.
Final couple of questions here as we prepare to land the plane, because this frustrates me a lot. When a business owner or an agency owner or a firm owner who's not an expert in marketing, they hire a marketing agency or a marketing consultant to solve a sales problem, or they get sales training for their team to fix a marketing problem because they don't know where the leaky bucket holes are. And they figure, oh my gosh, our sales team can't convert squat, but it's really a marketing problem in disguise. Or, right, there is a marketing, they think it's a marketing problem, but terrible value prop, untrained salespeople, no differentiation, commodity perception in the marketplace. The marketing is fine. It's either the product or the positioning that's screwy. How do you help sort out so that business owners can see clearly, this is a marketing problem, we fix it with this set of interventions. This, on the other hand, is a sales problem, and we fix it with these interventions?
There's so much variability here. I would suggest that a mindset by this owner / executive is needed first. And what I see happen too often is looking for a silver bullet, wanting a simple fix. You did an amazing job of just running through some of the problems that can be sitting in the funnel. And I think people need to understand, despite the fact that an org chart shows marketing people in one branch and salespeople in another, I tend to think of them like two ox inside of a yoke. Okay. So the oxen are pulling your plow.
Yeah.
And do we get too bothered about whether the one on the left or the one on the right is doing more? They are, to be sure, they're incented differently. So we have to do some tracking. But I think that the only level at which, and this is where I really, it burns me to hear this, is when people try to get too granular about ROI. Okay. So ROI, just 2-second recap, the revenue which you are receiving from something minus the cost it took you to receive it divided by the cost. Okay, there's the formula for ROI. Now, what costs? I'm going to propose that we always use all of the sales and marketing costs together when we look at ROI. Okay, so let's first figure out if our ROI is underwater or not. Okay, so and if it isn't, then I think, like you said, David, we probably need to just go in, roll up our sleeves, and do a wholesale overhaul.
Yeah.
Now, if you're above water and we have the luxury of, the ship is steady, do we have the luxury of now improving things? Sure. Are we going to look in sales or in marketing? I would say at that point, ROI is a useless measurement. What we're instead trying to do is simply ask, how can those percentages at those various gates be improved? And I'm looking at it both in a volume, a quantity measure, and a dollar measure.
Yeah.
And that would be the approach that I go with. But, let's understand that if there's some basic differentiation problems, branding problems, that both your marketing and salespeople are doing it wrong, and all of us need to fix it.
Yeah, no, I love that image of the two oxen attached to the same yoke, pulling in the same direction. It's like, do we care? Hey, guy on the left, what's going on? Guy on the right, stop pooping on the sidewalk. What's happening here? What's going on?
Yeah, the finger pointing has to stop.
Yes, it's a very healthy approach that you recommend. Like, hey, we're all heading in the same direction. Marketing, sales, marketing. So, two final questions for you. The final question is, where can people go to learn about you, get more connected to more Glenn Schmelzle brilliance, including the podcast, which is an amazing podcast called Funnel Reboot. But before we get to that, if people were to take one overall concept from our conversation today about smarter marketing, smarter selling, knowing your metrics, understanding what is holding you back and how to fix it, what do you hope that overall takeaway concept should be?
That you're building an engine, and that you are trying to make that engine first, turn over, and then you're trying to make that engine burn fuel, which is your money, efficiently. And that every company has to market, and there are ways that you can right size. You're thinking about how much to spend. Maybe, if I may suggest to you, that's kind of like, well, how big should the pistons on the engine be?
Right.
If you're asking, is my engine, working efficiently? Ask yourself if you are seeing a terrible amount of, like a very small number of leads come out for a very big spend. That would be like unspent fuel going out the tailpipe. So look at it like an engine. And, I love internal combustion engines. They are a marvel of engineering. And if you can use that maybe as a mode to ask yourself, okay, so how do I make this little thing that has to work with high compression? And, I'm actually trying to bring in things which are hard to measure, but I'm trying to bring them all in one place.
Yeah.
And if you if you model all of your funnel activities the way that an engineer had to model how the engine's got to work, and then they build the engine and they make sure it gets to that level of performance that their, whiteboard scribbles said it should and their formula said it should, then I think you'll feel not only satisfied, but you'll actually be able to get some sleep because you're making money.
Yes, exactly right. And I love that engine metaphor also. Well, where can people go, Glenn, to get more Glenn Schmelzle brilliance? What links should go into our show notes?
Yeah, fantastic. So I appreciate the opportunity and for you to mention the podcast. And I would encourage everyone to go check out David's 2 episodes on the Funnel Reboot podcast. Funnel Reboot is meant for data-based marketers and people who are interested in bringing more of this measurement metric approach to their marketing. I am working on a other form of content which can be useful to people. Let's say you have someone on your team who wants to level up their skills in data. The website for that is thedatabasedmarketer.com. And right now it's simply holding for the book that I'm preparing of the same name, as well as some coursework. There's also LinkedIn, where both David and I are quite active, and I would encourage you to join us in the conversations and follow the posts where both he and I try to share goodness to give you better ways to understand how you're doing your sales and marketing and how to make it better.
Excellent. Well, Glenn Schmelzle, thank you. This is part of the goodness that I'll be sharing on my LinkedIn the moment this podcast is released. So thank you for sharing all those value bombs. And this is worth a re-listen, people. Go back, get off the treadmill, pull over the car, get out a notepad and a pen, re-listen from the top, and you will thank us both later. Thank you again, Glenn.
Thank you.
And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.